Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trey Fan Podcast. I'm very excited to announce my next guest, who is a former NFL linebacker for the Oakland Raiders, now turned actor known for his role in Lucifer, The Righteous Gemstones, and Young Rock. Miles Burris, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
How you doing, man?
Man, doing good. Doing good. I'm free and clear. The kids are both sleeping upstairs. There's no complaints, no meltdowns over the monitor. I think I'm
Yeah,
good.
you did good on time and stuff too, man. Considering like we planned this like last week, but obviously like things got a little too busy for us. But appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time to do this, man. It's like it's an honor to actually have you on this show. Like it still doesn't. It seems surreal right now that this is happening.
Well, it's an honor to be thought of, man. Thank you.
Course, of
Yeah.
course. So, first things first, man. Like, I was gonna ask how you got started in football.
Yeah. So I was in fifth grade and there was a park right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
And my best friend who lived down the street, I'd go over to his house every day and I'd be, no, he's out at football practice. So I walk over there and I check out his football practice. I'm like, I don't know how I didn't hear about this. But it was the first year that my local high school created not a Pop Warner, but a junior league system. And
Yeah.
and so I didn't hear about it. So I went up to the coach and said, I'd like to try it out. And he said, yeah, come back tomorrow and whatever. So I get down there and they put me through like conditioning drills for like a week. So I'm like, football kind of sucks, You
Yeah.
just you just got these red orange cones and some coach yelling at you and saying,
Like, yo,
quit,
I don't want to be a part of
here for a
this.
water break. And yeah, and you're like, well, this kind of sucks. But some sort of rule, you had to do conditioning for a few days. And then I got to strap the pads on and go hit with everybody else. And that was the day I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what a first down is, but I'm running around and hitting people. And these coaches are cheering me on for it. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
not getting in trouble. This is great. So walked up the street to my house. My mom opens the door. I'm like, Mom, I want to play in the NFL. I want to take this as far as this thing can go at the highest level it could go. And she does what most moms would do. Okay, that's great, honey. And every kid says that.
Yeah.
And called my dad. He was on a business trip, told him the same thing. And he's just like, oh, I'm glad you found something you like. My dad played college football, so I was all pumped to
Oh,
tell him.
sick.
But yeah, and then so that's where it started. Like, and the dream never changed. It never budged. If anything, it just grew. Um, and part of that was like I started playing Madden.
Yeah.
That that first year of football actually was what they call a par player,
Yeah.
where you have to play like 10 plays a game at least, and I would get like just that 10, and the coaches would be like, all right, bring them out because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the fastest kid on the team and hit like a truck, but I just didn't know what was going on. So you couldn't really put me in there. And so I start playing Madden that off season and literally learned the game of football inside and out through playing Madden,
Yeah. Because
But
all the freaking plays are like there, the whole, just everything about it, right?
yeah, and it was like really cool to play it too because you're imagining yourself playing football, and then they
Yeah.
had like create a player
Yeah.
tool you can use, and so you're creating yourself and you're kind of just dreaming about like, dude, all these plays you're gonna make and
Yeah.
what position you'd fall into really well. And yeah, and so I'm a 90s kid, so growing up it was like video games are,
Yeah.
they're
Facts.
terrible. They're good for nothing. And I'm like, nah, it taught me this game, dude. It was a good deal. Damn it, just for saying that now, I gotta go get me a new system and start playing, Madden and EA
What's the
Sports.
last system you've been playing on, bro?
Dude, I haven't played video games since like I think what happened is I didn't take a console with me to college
Yeah.
because I knew, okay, I'm gonna be, full-time student, full-time athlete. I'm not gonna have
There's not
time
gonna
for
be much time for it.
yeah, and I was really only playing Madden and maybe NCAA at that point anyway. So I was like, I don't know, somebody else is gonna have it. And then I just kind of fell out of it. And you're so busy, you don't even think to pick it back up. And now I've been thinking about it just because I'm trying to spit more content out,
Yeah.
and get into this content game and learn. And I'm learning on the fly.
Your
And
content
it's
has been really good,
fun.
by the way. I'll give you like a heads up. Like it's been really good. Like the stuff that you've been posting, I've noticed that you've also been like really consistent with it. So like trust me, it's not easy. A lot of people think just posting is one thing, but it takes a lot to actually go into posting, you know?
Yeah, no, you're so right. It's you think it'll be 20 minutes, and it's like
Yeah.
half hours later. Sorry, this thing's
Dead or do thing, man.
you can can see how tech savvy I am.
Nah, don't even worry, bro.
You're going. So yeah, you think it's not going to take much time, and then even if you have something teed up and ready to post, it's like now I go into these four different platforms to post the same thing and
Yep.
write the copy down and copy paste it or change things around hashtag wise because
All the hashtags for the different
and then
platforms. Yeah.
and the thing I always forget about too is the audio, and it's like, oh shoot, I don't know what audio to pick now. I don't know. I'm not on top of it that much to do all that. So yeah, there's a lot that goes to it. And I think it's just like anything else. It's whatever you do and repeatedly do at a high volume, often you're going to get better at. And so I'm learning every day, and that's been a fun part of it. Is even just like switching my mind around of like almost like full-time creator as opposed to full-time actor.
Yeah.
Because what I love about it is there's way more that you can control. So in the acting game, all I can control is my craft and be
Yep.
ready. And I am ready. I spent thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars on my craft and
Yeah.
training and conservatory and coaching and all the above. And so that's always ready. And I'm always getting better. But like at the end of the day, I can't, like say a businessman goes, he blows a
Yeah.
salesman, he can go make 250 more cold calls and strum up some, like you can't do that as an actor. You got an
Oh,
agent
yeah.
and you don't know what they're doing or when they're going to get you in for something or when you're just right for something. And, you know, um, when they're all going to agree that you're the guy, a good booking ratio is like, 5%, I've got
Yeah.
like a 10% booking ratio over the course of my whole, 7-year acting career. A lot of people would be like, 3 or 4%. So you're thinking 3 out of 100, 4 out of 100.
Yeah.
It's a grind, dude. It's a lot of rejection. Um,
Oh,
but
100%.
in the form of silence, and
Yeah.
in athletics, you get the immediate feedback. You get a coach yelling at you, but you're like, at least I could take that. At least I know
Yeah.
what they're wrong. I know how to get better. In this, there's just like that.
It's kind of like a waiting game in a way.
And I'm in it forever. I love it too much. I got the bug.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm not going to get off the bus. But what I love about the creator thing and just making content is you get to do it yourself. You kind of get to hammer your craft in different
Hmm.
ways. And I almost look at social media and different platforms as like a different genre. Like,
Yeah.
I used to always look at it like tunnel vision out, TV and film, like that's a different thing.
Yeah.
That's not to do anything. And now it's merged so much. It's, on this, they've got YouTube buttons on TV remotes now. So
It's
I'm,
it's so much more easier to access.
yes, 100%. 100%. So that's been a cool shift because it's like, man, if I pump out a bunch of volume, you never know and you can't control or always foresee what's going to hit and
Yeah.
what isn't. But it just takes one to pop for, others to do the same and to start gaining traction. And so I love that piece of it because I have a hand in that.
Yeah, and that's the great way to look at it because like you said, man, like a lot of people don't realize that there's so much time and effort that goes into posting and stuff. It's one thing to post and then but it's another to also know the timing you have to post it, all the
Yeah.
hashtags that go into it that play a factor into changing the algorithm where it's like gonna be in rotation in a way.
Hmm.
But it's dope that you also found like an interest in it, you know?
Yeah.
Did that just come naturally, or was that something that like one of your friends kind of told you about that maybe you should look into, or what was that like that whole process like?
It was over time, really. I was just talking to my wife about this, yesterday, but as an athlete, it's kind of one of the only spaces in the world where if you're good enough, you could be in some obscure part of, the country,
Hmm.
just working in the dark room. But if you're good enough, they're going to find you. Even from the college level, if you're playing at a D3 somewhere, if you're good enough, NFL is going to find you and they're going to get you and they're going to draft you.
Yeah.
And so there's comfort in that. And that's that you can just isolate yourself and get after it and work harder than everybody else, stay in that dark room. And so that's all I did my whole life.
Yeah.
I just thought that's how the world works. They're just, I'll become the best actor I can possibly be. And cream rises to the top and they'll find me. And, there's so many other things that you have control of in athletics that you have no control of in that space. And it's kind of like it doesn't work that way in any other space. You
Yeah.
build a great community and have a great network and just keep showing up, play, all those things that I wasn't doing at the time. So I approached everything in that same football mindset. And I think what I started to see, because I'm a screenwriter too, so what I would do between acting gigs is I picked up the craft of screenwriting. I just spent thousands of hours, doing that, writing several screenplays,
Oh,
and
dope.
got an agent at CAA, hawking one around. And what I found with that is like, yeah, it's gotten me meetings and a lot of interest, and but that's a long game too. I got all hyped up listening to some YouTube video of Sylvester Stallone writing
Yeah.
himself into Rocky, into Hollywood. And I was like, that's going to be my shortcut. When
Yeah, his
really
story
in
was
today's
inspiring
day and
though.
age, yeah, in today's day and age, it's social media. You're seeing people make that transition from the non-conventional entertainment
Yeah.
spaces into conventional, Hollywood and all those things. So, especially in music, and I'm sure you know that through and through, like the music has much easier leap from
Yeah.
building fans online to stepping into the big studio system and all that.
It's crazy because before it was like you needed a radio hit or like a record deal in order to get somewhat of a fan base. Now you can trend off of TikTok
Yeah.
just going viral on a viral song like that. Was that $1 Million Baby song?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I love that song.
great song, great song. And it's
I
like,
heard that song. Yeah, dude, I had a similar feeling with that song that I did Bruno Mars Uptown Funk.
yeah,
The legitimate thought was like, this song is so good. You just want to dance. Like, it's going to be number one forever. I don't ever see this ever getting beaten out. I
yeah,
literally thought that. But yeah, something about it it just makes you want to move. And that kid, the way he kind of stepped on the scene, kind of slapped everybody in the face in a lot of
hmm
ways. Like that is such a unique um, talent that he has to hit the falsettos and come down and the melody to go in and
yeah,
through. Um, I haven't heard that in a very long time, but it's like this nostalgic 90s feel, but
yeah. But
it's something that's
modernized
still
basically.
current. Yeah, and the way he uses his voice, first time I heard it, I was like, dude, who's this guy singing way up here? He's awesome. Who's the rapper? He's great too. And then I'm
Yeah,
like, this is the same
same
dude.
guy, bro. Yeah,
He runs in and out of it like that. That's it. It was next level. I love when artists kind of hop on the scene and slap people in the face like that. Like
yeah,
it's so different and so raw and authentic in you that people are like, "What is this? I want more of it." Eminem
exactly.
was kind of that way. Um, what's his name? Country guy, I'm a cowboy, baby. Kid Rock.
Kid
That was
Rock,
kind
yeah,
of way,
yeah.
very different. But yeah, Tommy Richmond, man, I think he's got a big career ahead of him.
I hope so too, man, because like you said, like his sound was so unique when that record started to blow up that it was a breath of fresh air, I guess you could put it
Yeah,
like. So it's kind of
yeah,
cool that
no doubt.
when you look at how, like you said, like music and even like social media and now TV and film, like it all ties in together, or you can just be popular in anything right now because of this new era of the landscape that we're in now, you know?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Are you a musician?
No.
But
I just
you're in that game a little bit, and
sorry?
do you work in that space though? Is that it seemed like you were kind of tied to the
I
rap
um
industry?
I just always had like a passion for music and listening, and I think I had like some sort of experience with like studio work and such. So I
Mhm.
have the idea of what goes into crafting an album and what's in the production, but I never actually got into being an artist. Um,
Okay.
but I always enjoyed seeing people create different sounds and such. And I think it's so unique that when an artist has their own sound and is not afraid to put it out there.
Yeah.
So I like to think I have like a decent knowledge on it. I don't
Yeah.
know if I would ever be a singer or like a rapper or anything, but I do enjoy music a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Same. Same. Yeah,
What
there's
artists
this
are you
one
listening to
thing.
right now?
What's that?
What artists are you listening to right now?
That's a good question. There's been less overall music since having kids.
Yeah.
And as you're so busy running from one thing to the next, I'm like, oh, I only
It's hard
really
to keep
listen.
track, right?
Yeah, I only really listen to music when I'm working out, and then sometimes you just want a tempo for that. But right now, I listen to a lot of Forrest Frank actually right now.
Okay.
And then who else have I been on lately here? I like Charlie Crockett.
Yeah.
Um, I dip in and out of pretty much every genre. I think the thing that I like the most is like we were just talking about, somebody that really is just different, you
Yeah.
know, and not different for different sake, but you're like, this is very you, and I haven't really heard this. And there, it is kind of that weird dichotomy of like, we want somebody to be a completely raw and unique, and like, no studio or whatever can touch you,
Yeah.
and your sound has to be like, what's somebody just that came up with on their own, just plucking strings on a front porch somewhere. What does that sound like,
Yeah.
And at the same time, every single artist has had influences, and you can't really come up with your own sound without having
Having
heard
some sort of
different
influence.
sounds throughout
Yeah.
your life and have that in your subconscious. And I think that's partly why Dave Matthews has such an
Yeah.
unique sound, because he grew up, in South Africa, and then bounced to Memphis, and like all over the world, and
That's
he
so
heard
amazing
all
to
these
think about,
different
eh?
things.
Like
Yeah.
just how much influence he basically had.
Yeah. And like came up with like a sound that you're like, what? You guys are like, I've got violinist, and his voice is, it's just the cadences. And I started picking back up on just some of the old songs I listened to, and I'm like, dude, some of his songs don't even really have any rhymes set within
Yeah.
them, and yet they're catchy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? I've never really heard this, and I've never really heard it from this angle of like how unique this his voice is, and just the jam band nature of it, just letting
That
it
I
go
can
where
draw you
it's
like
gonna
that,
go.
basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
that's just like natural talent. That's, like it's hard
Yeah,
to find that and mimic that.
yeah.
Um, it's crazy. Like I think that one thing that's missing in like modern music now, where it's hard to like I'm so behind on like what's happening in the world when it comes to the pop music aspect, because I feel like for the past 5 years has been almost the same. It's only been like a couple moments where there's been things that you can like pinpoint that were like, like there's a new song with Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga. I don't know if you
Is
heard of
there?
it.
I don't
I
know.
don't
But
remember the
maybe if
name,
I heard it.
but it's like a really good song. I can't remember the name right now, but
Yeah.
even Bruno Mars, like I think like he was so talented. He's so
Oh yeah.
talented of an artist. Like
100%.
has
Yeah.
his own unique sound too.
Yeah. Isn't he from Hawaii?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So that's like another thing you're mentioning is just like having the different influences from which part you're from that you
Yeah.
implement into your own sound, right?
Yeah. It just seeps in. Whatever your influences were kind of growing up and at different points, it kind of sinks in. Yeah, you are right though. Like I see that in country a lot right now. And
Yeah.
now you're starting to see all these different subgenres of country, because it's
Hmm.
like rock's not really a thing anymore, and certain other genres aren't popping, but country is, and
Country's
other
taking
people
over right
don't.
now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's people that won't make it in their own genre, so they pop over to country and throw a little twang in
I
it,
think
but it's really a
Post
beat.
Malone's considering too, eh?
Oh yeah, he came out with a killer album.
Yeah. So I have to
Uh,
listen to it.
yeah, it is. It's really good. He got pretty much every biggest star to do a feature on a bunch of the songs too. But then he released like a double album where it's just him, and it's like 12 more songs, and it's like, all right, yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yeah,
Yeah, he's another one that's really talented too, man.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think I was
100%.
gonna start asking you about like obviously, you went to college and stuff for football.
Mhm.
How did that process from college to the NFL? What was that process like for you to obviously, then playing with the Oakland Raiders? Like what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I think the transition from the college to the NFL, it goes so fast. Basically you finish your season, you play your bowl game, you're immediately, then talking to a bunch of agents, and you have
Yeah.
to pick your agents. And at that point, they couldn't mix it up with you. We didn't have these NIL deals and stuff. So I was like, Dad, I don't want to be, burdened by this and balance this with football and stuff. Like, you deal with all the agents, and then, pick the best ones, and we'll go meet with them afterwards. And so that you go straight into that, you pick your agent, they pretty much immediately ship off to training, and train all the way up until the combine and pro days and all that. And then, boom, you get drafted and you start off-season program, OTAs and all that. You get a little break, go right into training camp. And I had gotten in that little break, I got married to my, longtime girlfriend, high school sweetheart. And we're still married. We've been
Oh,
together
that's
like
great, man.
almost a couple decades. So, um, and then you go through the NFL season, and I was a day one starter, and so it was just like you're drinking out of a fire hose and
Yeah.
playing at the same time, making mistakes and learning from it. But it's just nonstop, never ends. You don't really have time to sit down and think. You just like, okay, I got so much more to learn. I got so much more to do. I got to always put more work in, and it goes by so fast. That you really, it just there was no processing time. It was just wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time you're dealing with a huge talent jump too, because everybody's a dog. Everybody was the best on their college team, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was next level. It was fun though because I'm from Sacramento, and then played for the Raiders when they were in Oakland, so that's hour and a
How was
half.
the fan base like?
Oh, great. Yeah, they're super loyal. They're kind of like the teammate that like you hate to play against, but you love it when your
But when you
team.
love them, now you're on a team, right?
It's that fan base though.
Yeah.
So you hate playing there if you're another team, but you love it when they're your fans. But they're passionate. They love the game.
Yep.
They ride the emotional waves, and they're all decked out and sweating. Makeup and black and silver. It's just, yeah, it's unreal. They go all out. And the cool thing with the transition that they made from Oakland to Vegas is like they didn't really, there wasn't a huge fan drop off of fans being pissed off. If anything, a lot of people were already driving 6 hours from LA to Oakland to go
Anyways, yeah.
again. So they had so much of a fan base in LA, so much in the Bay Area, and now neither of those are too far from Vegas. And now you picked up a huge fan base in Vegas because they were wanting to cling on to teams out there, and they got to see the blueprint with the hockey team that went in there, and the city really took to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say was like your initial reaction when for your first game? Like how were you feeling? Was there like nerves? Was there like what were you feeling and thinking on your first game, like in the NFL, like your first official game, basically?
Oh yeah, that was a lot of nerves for sure. I mean, that
Yeah, I can't
was
imagine not having like any.
yeah. Because it's similar. It's like you hear from all the vets, like you go through the preseason and you play well, and they're like, yeah, but this it's preseason, it doesn't count. It's not like real football. That you
Yeah,
like wait till we get to the regular season, it's way more intense, and so you got some of those nerves. And I remember just going over to Mike Huff and like going through our checks again because he was the safety behind me, and like just out of almost nerves of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I got everything, we're good, and but it was also the first Sunday night football game of the year. So it was a nationally
oh
televised
wow.
situation. We were at home playing the San Diego Chargers. And again, everything went so fast. I didn't have time to process anything. Even the fact that I was like balling,
Yeah,
I put the team in tackles and had a few tackles for loss.
yeah,
And everybody was kind of noticing it except for me, I guess, because you're just right in the mix. You don't have time to think.
yeah, you're just locked in.
Uh, yeah, just locked in exactly. And so after the game, it was like, okay, I realized that I did something special there. I got everybody hitting me up from home, floods of texts, and everybody seeing me on national television, and that was a cool entry into the NFL.
It's really dope to hear that, man. I hope you know like all of this that you've accomplished is it's very inspiring, man. Like it's not an easy thing to do, especially mentally, to keep yourself grounded and obviously like, you probably like you said you got used to like, when your coaches are yelling at you and such, but sometimes it can take a toll on you, Like was there ever any moments where you had where you felt like it was too much?
Oh yeah, yeah, a whole lot. Especially when I was dealing with my knee injuries,
Yeah.
because it just felt like, okay, this ticking time bomb sitting on my leg is trying to end my career, and I'm trying to play for a decade or more, and I can barely walk around. I can barely bend my knee. I would have to go to, especially my last year there. I started every game, and I started every game that I was healthy when I was in Oakland.
Yeah.
but I was, healthy. I was still playing on one leg. I would get to the stadium, 4 hours before the game just to get my, ice the knee down or you do different stim units and just do whatever it took to be able to get the thing to bend first and
Yeah.
then get enough blood in and through the area to kind of feel good. And sometimes that didn't. You got to do what you got to do to play. And and so it was a lot. It was really like a warrior lifestyle in a lot of ways where it's like, man, there's I mean it was almost I remember sometimes I would laugh. I'm like, there's no way my knee hurts this bad. Like this is
Yeah.
so messed up and somehow I'm gonna find a way to make this thing work for another game. And yeah, so that I'm laughing about it, but that part was really, really difficult
Yeah, for
because
sure.
there's so much there that's out of your control. And it's like, man, this has been my only biggest dream of my entire life is to be here. And I can't fully enjoy it because I don't know if and when it's going to end at any moment. And if my knee's ever going to heal and get to a place where I can actually, let out of me what's in me. I got so much talent. A lot of times I would, the knee was in a state where I would go to plant, on that right leg
Yeah.
and it would just give, like the muscles did nothing, like they
Yeah.
wouldn't. And so you just, whoa, stuck in the sand for a second. And so all that was really frustrating, and it's part of the game, it's,
Understandably.
yeah, yeah. But that was super tough. I would honestly a lot of times not report injuries to the medical staff
Yeah.
because I knew that they would make me go to, rehab every day or the training room. And that
Yeah.
was just going to consist of ice and stim, and then go in the cold tub and the heat tub and contract, like stuff that wasn't going to really do anything for how beat up I was. And if I had to do that, I wouldn't be able to fly to Arizona on my off days and go get, stem cells or PRP and inject any and everything that I could into it to try to make it work again. And, some things were more effective than others, but I was doing whatever it took. So it sucked, but what was great about it was, I had the respect of my teammates. They all knew
Yeah.
that I was battling through something that was not normal, that I was playing injured, not playing hurt. Um, and that I laid it all out there and I made the absolute most of my time there. Like that, and that, yeah, there's peace in that. Like doing everything you can
Yeah.
to heal and spending any amount of money to try to every therapy and um, playing through the pain and everything. Like there's no regrets. I won't look back and be like, I could have done a little more. It's like, no, I saw that through. I made the most of what I could for my circumstance and situation.
No, that's amazing, man. And I hope you know that it's not easy to mentally go through that and put yourself through that. And the fact that you know that you gave your all, that there's nothing more you can do, and it's amazing to see. And I'm like, it's amazing to even hear that. It's very motivational, man. I hope you know that, bro.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that.
So obviously after football you got into acting. So what was that transition like and how did you come across that?
So yeah, I kind of got the acting interest in college because there was no CBA deals in college. I mean, that you just
Yeah.
get they beat the hell out of you. Yeah,
Yeah.
two a days, you're banging, full pads, and we had a great strength coach too. But I mean, he ran us into the ground, and so you're so exhausted. It was like at any time that I was at home and finally not at practice, all I wanted to do was go to Redbox, get a bunch of movies, lay in my bed, the lights
Yep.
off, movies. And that's where it kind of hit me. I was like watching I was in like a Brad Pitt phase at the moment and watching Fight Club and Troy and all these.
Oh,
I'm like, dude, this must be like the coolest job ever. He just gets to
yeah.
go play all these different awesome characters and be in movies. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna give that a shot one of these days once football's all done. I don't know if I'll be awesome at it or like it even that much, but I at least want to give it a shot because I have a feeling that I would really like it. And so that was it. So yeah, once I hurt my knee for the last time, I was released in 2015, right after the draft, and
Yep.
was technically, I got accredited that season, but I was injured. So, I got my 4 years in. I tried to make it back for 2 years again to see the whole thing through. All right, maybe I can get this knee to heal up. Took about a year to get to a place where I felt like, okay, maybe I can do this. Took a bunch of workouts with a bunch of NFL teams and then had a 3 day mini camp with the Vikings. And it was just like, okay, this, yeah, it's not going to work. It's just the size of a softball again. And so at that point, I was like, all right, I'll take this acting shot. And then that's where I got into it. Got a lucky break right in the beginning and got opened a bunch of doors and was booking kind of most of the stuff I was going out for. And that was like a good kind of nod of like, all right, this is the next thing, and fell in love with it the first time I was on set. It was just like, I want to do this forever. Kind of the same feeling I had the first day of pads.
Oh, that's like amazing, man. I think
Yeah.
that it definitely probably was like tough to transition to something that you love so much, which is obviously football. But to find other hobbies and other interests after was probably new and exciting, you would say, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I mean the belief for me and why football ending was so devastating was like, okay, I'm not going to ever vocationally have a passion like this again. Like everything's downhill from here.
Mm.
It's not going to be football no matter
Yeah.
what it is. And yeah, so I was just so grateful, man. God gave me something else where it's like I would have never thought I would love this as much or even more than football, but I do. And and then once you're in it, you're like, man, there's a whole lot more I like about this. I don't have to get beat up
Yeah.
and hit these 350-pound guards, and you just get
Your
to be
body's
on
all right,
the
like
all flush at night.
you can walk the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And every character you play is different, and that's fun. Whereas like in football, no matter what team you're at, I'm playing linebacker,
You're
it's
playing that
not a
same
same thing.
role.
Yeah, exactly. That's fun for a while, but I can act forever, but football, most people retire in that 25 year range.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, how did you enjoy working with Adam Devine? He's one of like my favorite comedians actually. Like he seems
Yeah.
like the most fun guy like ever, man. When it comes to just his personality is basically how he acts in movies and shows too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's hilarious. He's so funny. You're always kind of on your toes, even when you're talking to him and the cameras aren't on, because he's constantly throwing jokes out and goofing off. And then like his natural speaking voice, it always feels like it's setting up something,
Yeah.
and then oftentimes whenever it's there, he throws it. And then when he's saying something serious, you're almost still holding on, like he's about to throw a joke. Oh no,
Yeah.
he's serious right now. Okay, cool.
Was there any times he made you break?
Yeah, yeah, especially because I mean the writing in that show is so good and it's so funny, and the comedy in that is so unique
Yeah.
and like niche, but like it slaps you in the face because you're like, I've never heard people talk like this, and yet I love it. And so you stick to the scene how it's written because you don't want to change something magic like that. But they would just kind of let the cameras run after,
Yeah.
and people would just kind of extend the scene because they knew they had Adam Devine and Danny McBride and all these people that can just riff Tony Cavallero. And so they would just
Yeah,
see
they
if
could just keep
there's
going.
anything at the tail end of it. Let's just see what happens, basically. And they would use a lot of that stuff in post and kind of edit it together into the final cut. Um, and I wasn't really going in there deciding like I was a recurring guest star throughout
Yeah.
the entirety of season two, but I wasn't a series regular, so I wasn't going to go in there and like try to go in and improv and I don't know, just wasn't my show. So
You knew
but I
your
know
role was basically you didn't want to like step over
yeah, I didn't want to step
anything.
on any
Yeah.
toes and be that guy. So but I felt like I got the go ahead on one night because it was the night that I was carrying the cross.
Yeah.
And again, to your point with Devine, he's always kind of keeps you on your toes because you don't
Yeah.
know at the end of the scene where he's going to go. He might say something different. And so we're going through a rehearsal and he spits his line, Jesus carried his cross 2,000 feet, and that I think it's supposed to like end there. I wasn't really supposed to say anything. And then he says, what do you say about that, Titus, or something, and I'm like, oh, that's not scripted. I'm looking around, everyone's looking at me and they're like, oh, I gotta say something,
Yeah.
well, could Jesus bench 455 pounds? And like
Yeah.
all of a sudden I just hear people howling and like I look over and Danny McBride's like bent over, just laughing his butt off. And so I knew, okay, when the
When
scene
Danny
got
McBride's
started.
laughing, that's like a
Yeah. And so they just kind of let me riff a little bit too, and that was really cool and then really rewarding when I saw the final cut, and a lot of the just random lines that I spit out made the final cut, like several of them. I was like, oh man, that was the most fun I've had on any set in my acting career to date.
yeah, I could see why with so much talent and probably that freedom with the writers, even the directors. Uh, was there ever a point where you felt like obviously probably like when, on your first day of set being with them, was there a point where you felt like holy crap, like this is surreal, that this is what I'm doing at this moment?
No, and not in a cocky way. I just,
Yeah.
for some reason, I never really did get that feeling in acting, and kind of rarely did in football either.
So no like starstruck moment. You were kind of just like, yo, I come to work, like
Yeah, yeah, I'm always so kind of like focused on my job and like how can I make the most of this opportunity
yeah,
that I don't really go there.
which is good though.
Yeah, and I also just I think coming from the NFL and having such, being a starter and you know having such high goals there, it just felt like, no, I've been dreaming about this, thinking about this for so
Yeah.
long. This is where I'm supposed to be. So then going to acting for me, if somebody came up and they just wanted to be an actor their whole life, every opportunity would probably feel like really heavy and weighty and like I gotta make this happen and I'm starstruck. But for me, it felt like so low stakes because I
Yeah.
came out of, thousands of people in the stadium who see every mistake and call it out and
Yeah.
millions watching online or on TV. And if you screw up and it's all over, like that was a lot of pressure and you only get
Hmm.
one take. So when I started acting, they're like, you get in the audition room, they're like, that was great, but we're looking for more like something like this. It's like,
Hmm.
all right, so you get to try again
You
and
have like a
try again,
second chance.
take
Yeah.
the one they like. It just never felt scary or hard and never really felt nervous with it.
Yeah.
And then the stars, it just felt like, dude, this is so easy compared to football.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the transition of it, I think, from NFL to Hollywood made it a little easier. Yeah.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. I had a little technical issues where my webcam did not want to agree. So I'm using an old webcam now. If you notice the quality dropped a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a
Um,
little bit. Let me see. I had my browser small. No, it's not. It's not too far.
not too
It's not.
bad. Okay. We're
I mean, the
chilling.
other one's super crispy, but this one
There's
for
just
the
a little
untrained
bit.
eye, they're not going to notice too much
Yeah.
difference.
Not, I don't think if I pointed out, they would have noticed. Maybe like,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe clip that out.
yeah. So as we were talking about, obviously got into acting after your football career. I was gonna ask you how the role came up to be on Young Rock. It's The Rock's TV show about his career and his life, and obviously you got to play a very legendary wrestler in Triple H. So how did that come across, and how did that happen, bro?
Like most of the auditions, they just your agent hits you up and says, "Hey, do you want to take this one? And here's the material below." So they basically emailed over a couple scenes, and I look, okay, Young Rock. I'd already auditioned for Jake the Snake, and then they tried to get me at an audition for Stone Cold,
Oh
and I
wow.
remember thinking, I don't look anything like Stone. That I'm not gonna even get that. Plus, at that point, I was like already kind of weary after auditioning for Jake the Snake,
Yeah.
seeing that it was in Australia, and I had my son was 2 at the time, or maybe not even 2, and my wife was pregnant again, and I was like, dude, I don't want to dip out and be gone in Australia for that
Yeah.
long. At least if it's somewhere in the country, I can come back on the weekends and help
We'll
out
work
and
around it.
around.
Yeah.
But um, then my manager hit me up after because I didn't audition for Stone Cold. I just said no. And then my manager's like, I know you said you don't want to leave the country, but this one's like very right for you. And just wanted to put it past you. And I was like, all right, I'll read for it, but I looked at it and I'm like, dude, I don't look anything like Triple H. And at least if I do, I don't know. I don't know how to tell if I do or not. I don't think I do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know with these kinds of auditions where it's based on real people, no matter how good you do, they're going to look at you for the first 5 seconds or 2 seconds and be like, no, not even close. Move to the next
Yeah,
one.
people are gonna judge quickly, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and the casting directors have so many submissions, they do have to go quick. And so if it's like he could be great, but he doesn't match the look we're looking for, let's move on. So I knew that was going to be the case. So I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and prep for 10 hours. And I literally looked at it for like 10 minutes, and I was like, they're either going to say yes or no on something like this. They have to match a physical look. So I just looked it over, shot it really quick. I was like, I'm never going to get that. And then the next day they're like, you got the role. Um, and I remember too that it was based on Triple H when he was still Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
He was kind of like this blue, stuck up guy. So they gave you like a little reference YouTube video of like him like all staunch and
Being that character,
upper.
yeah.
And so I kind of leaned into that in the audition. And yeah, it just ended up working. You never know which ones are gonna pop, but that one did. I certainly didn't think it would.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it was it was something that obviously just kind of just fell on your lap and you're like, what the hell am I gonna do with this? Like how am I gonna people be because like you said, like people will judge based on just their first interaction, right? Their first little glimpse of what it is. But
Hmm.
I think like you're acting in that show and obviously seeing the mannerisms you did as Triple H because it's not an easy role to do, especially obviously you're playing Hunter Hearst Helmsley and then you played the actual Triple H character, you know, mimicking the SummerSlam match that they did and recalling
Hmm.
all those little vignettes that you guys had to do. It was really well done. So did you actually like watch back like some of the clips from it in order to prepare yourself for that role?
Yeah, I watched a ton of Triple H footage,
Yeah.
especially with the matches that we were matching, because we were basing it that on those shot for shot.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of how we would do those setups is like we'd do 10 seconds of the wrestling match, reset up to a new location, and we'll take the next. So it wasn't overwhelming in that regard, and that was actually really fun to do the wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
We had Chavo Guerrero on set as the stunt coordinator.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Uh,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
in
so he
Oakland.
was like, he'd be like, all right, do this. He knew I was an athlete, and he knew I could kind of do it last minute. And
Yeah.
so it's just fun. He was like, you're a kid in a shop and
Yeah.
doing all that. But Triple H was honestly one of the harder roles for me to. I never really dialed it in. I never felt like one, I don't look much like him, and that's kind of the main comments I'll see on socials.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he doesn't look anything like him, the nose, the this, or whatever.
I
And I
also think
wasn't
it's
too
how you
bothered by
act.
that,
Like
but
you
for me,
can't
it
just
was
base it
tough.
off that too. You know?
Yeah, I have a really good ear. Most of the time, if I hear something, I can replicate kind of any voice or a lot of voices. Something about Triple H's voice, I could never. I tried so
Yeah.
hard and so many, and I was like, dude, I can't get there. It was like gruff and then weirdly nasally and kind of East Coast-ish sometimes, but not
Yeah.
really, and not at all, but like some sort of Massachusetts. I don't know. Um,
He had one of those voices where it was very confusing on how you couldn't like pinpoint it basically.
yeah, usually if I hear something, I can immediately replicate it, and
Yeah.
that was one of the few times, the only time as an actor that I had to alter my voice, and I couldn't quite get to it. But yeah, with a show like this, one, it's not really it's a family comedy for
Yeah.
NBC, so it's supposed to be kind of light and fluffy. It's not supposed to be this raw, gritty kind of independent documentary type feel that
Yeah.
most wrestling fans want. Um, but I knew that it was going to be based a lot on just kind of the physicality and mannerisms. So I tried to at least match some of those and the way he walked or different moves that he did, and definitely the suckets.
Yeah. Iconic. Got me a lot of trouble back in like fourth grade for doing that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, same. First time I ever got beat up by somebody that wasn't my older brother. I gave him a nice little suck it. You don't know that you're not invincible until you smack them
Until
down
you
a
do one
little
of those, man.
bit. You gotta learn.
I learned the hard way, man. Yeah, I got like detention for like a whole week because of that. I'm like, I didn't know. I was like, if Triple H can do it, why can't I? Like I didn't know what I
Yeah.
was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You know, he got so many kids' attention. Got a lot of kids beat
Yeah.
up probably for that one too.
Did you get a chance to meet Triple H or The Rock by any chance, like during that process?
You know, unfortunately, I didn't have any overlap with The Rock.
Yeah.
Some people did, and even if they did, they saw him like one day.
Yeah.
Because kind of how he's, you know, a giant superstar, and so
Busy
how
man for sure.
he
Yeah.
do his stuff, he would, if you remember the show, it would be like cut back to him current day, and he's talking about these things.
Yeah.
They would shoot like all of that at his house in like a short period of time, and then he's
Yeah.
done for the season, and they can just clip back and forth.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay. Makes sense. Makes
yeah,
sense.
he's off making the next, you know, action franchise and
Yeah.
superstardom. So but he did come to set, I guess, one day, and everybody was talking about it. And they said it was awesome. But I wasn't on set that day. And then as far as meeting Triple H, a lot of the guys that got to play a wrestler, I guess they, you know, they could reach out, and like my
Yeah.
buddy Luke Hawks, who played Stone Cold, talked to him, and so
Oh,
did a
nice.
lot of the other guys who Lee talked to The Rock and all those things. And you know, I guess I kind of regret maybe not reaching out to him, but I just was in the mindset of like, well, I would have to go reach out to production to be like, hey, can I somehow
Yeah.
get in touch with him? And it just kind of felt like I know this, he's running the WWE. This guy does probably pretty busy, and I don't know how much, you know, he's
Yeah.
gonna somehow fit that on his schedule. And um, I can't master the voice anyways, so what's it gonna help?
It'll either
Uh,
be hearing that, or just gonna be like, hey man, you know.
But you know, I should have probably taken the opportunity to at least, you know, talk to him and be able to make some contact. That would have been cool. You know, been watching him since I was a kid.
Yeah, that was gonna be actually my next segue was actually gonna be were you a fan of wrestling growing up and you know what wrestlers did you like look up to if that was the case?
You know, I wasn't really a fan of wrestling, but I was aware of it because I
Yeah.
would play the video game at my buddy's house.
Yeah.
Uh,
Video games
and
always
I
ties
like
back
playing the
into
video
it.
game, and so I got to learn, and they're all talking about the wrestlers, and they're just all gung ho, and I was like, yeah, I can see how that's pretty cool. And you know, sometimes you're at a buddy's house and you tune into it, but I never really caught the bug for it.
Yeah.
But I get why people do, you know, I get why people do for sure.
100%, 100%. Yeah, like for me like I grew up it was always like basketball and wrestling. I don't know if it was just like being around like my dad and such because they were big fans of it.
Yeah.
Um but so yeah, I grew up watching wrestling and then like now it's kind of feel like pro wrestling's at an all-time high because of just there's so many different variations of professional wrestling that's like taking over. You know, there's AEW now, New Japan and like TNA and obviously WWE is taking it to another level with Triple H obviously being on top of it.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I think like wrestling is doing big things where it's at right now and yeah, that I'm personally like a big fan of it. So it was pretty dope when I saw like that The Rock had his TV show about his career because there was a lot of things that we didn't know, you know, going on behind the scenes with his upbringing into professional wrestling. So I thought that was you guys did a really good job with that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was
Uh,
fun. It was a fun shoot for sure.
you obviously you took a big leap from football to acting. And we briefly spoke about it when we were not recording, but what were some of the trials and errors that you went through during that process and that kept you motivated to keep going?
Yeah, good question. You know, the trials I think are certainly just the droughts that you go without work. You know, you book a job and it's great. It's kind of feast or famine though. You never know when the next one's coming or how many
Yep.
auditions you're gonna have to take before you finally book the next one. And that part I didn't, you know, I didn't like because when you're a football player, you're doing it every day. You're going to the facility every day. You have a purpose every day of, you know, you training for XYZ. Um, and so that piece of it was certainly difficult. I think the thing that kept me going was just, you know, you're becoming closer to a vision every day. You know,
Yep.
it's similar in football. It's like, okay, if I put in this work, I know I'll get here at a certain point. I'm going to keep compounding this work and get to this place. And I think, yeah, even the motivation when I was screenwriting too, of like, okay, I can write some amazing screenplay, and this could one thing could change my whole life, you know, and beyond that, just the love of it. You know, I love the storytelling and love. I get like just a weird nostalgia around anytime I'm on a set in general, and just the whole Hollywood thing in general. I grew up watching the Muppets, and they're always on like
Yeah.
these sets. So I always tell people I feel like the Muppets when I'm on set.
Yeah. That's no
And they're like, what are
comparison.
you talking about? It's like I don't even know either. I don't know what I'm talking
It's
about.
just a feeling you get. That's it.
Yeah, it's great. But I love it, man. It's just that kind of that childlike imagination. We're able to bring it to the screen, and I love performing and acting. I love creating stories and writing dialogue and doing all those things. And so, um, yeah, best job in the world for me whenever you get to work it.
Oh, that's amazing, man. And I think that everything you've done to get to this point is not easy and is very motivational. And there's hats off to you, man, because it's tough to constantly remind yourself that listen, it's gonna be okay. And I think that you have that drive to always push yourself, and it's gonna get you anywhere you want to go as long as you keep doing that, man. So good job for you. And like that's just like for me, it's very motivational to keep going because sometimes like it could be tough. Obviously what we were talking about too was like there you get like a whole bunch of rejections and then one hits. And then it kind of reminds you of like, okay, this is the process. This is what you have to do is just to get yourself to that limit and keep pushing yourself. It's very inspiring, man. So
Well, thank you. No, I'm
I
glad
have
it
one
affected
last
me.
question for you, bro.
Yeah.
And what's a piece of advice that you would give someone who has interest in trying other hobbies and, maybe stuck on something and wants to see what else is out there in life and how they should go about it?
Yeah, I'd say, find a way in your schedule to try it out, wherever you get some free time, be intentional and sit down and find a way where you can do that thing and do that activity before, quitting a job or making some rash life decision. And I think in the process of doing it, you'll get to see, okay, is this something that I resonate with? Does it make me come alive? Do I enjoy it? And if you do, it's almost like it kind of takes over an autopilot after that because it's like you love something so much you're going to want to research it more, you're going to want to think about it more, you're going to want to learn more skills, and you're going to all the stuff that's hard isn't nearly as hard because the passion of it, you're like, I
Yeah.
just have to do this because this is part of me doing that. um yeah, and I'm big on, passion and doing things I'm passionate about and things that make me come alive. And so it's like I think the first thing is just trying that thing, in some way, shape, or form, um, because that will give you uh, help you to realize whether that's something that you enjoy or not. And you keep trying new things until something kind of makes you come alive. And when that works, when that pops for you, you can go all in.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, bro. I really appreciate it. It was an
Yeah.
honor to have you on the show. If there's anything you have, put your social media out here, let everyone know what you got going on and such. And
Yeah, I'm starting to get a lot more busy on the socials lately. So I'm at Miles James Burris on Instagram and TikTok, Miles Burris Official on YouTube. And what else am I on? I started messing around on Snapchat, but that probably doesn't matter. Yeah, but stay tuned. I'm daily content, pumping it out, having a fun time, goofing off sometimes, serious stuff other times.
that's
But
all it is.
yeah, professional
Thank you
goof
so
off.
much, man.
Hey man,
Appreciate it.
appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. Thanks.